Welcome back, everyone. This is bj.mccranie with another Canton Community Highlight. Today I'm with Cindy Rawlings with Capture Moments by Cindy. We're here in her studio. Thank you for having us out, Cindy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into photography?
So probably about 20 years ago, my husband handed me a brand new sparkly digital camera, and I started taking pictures of landscapes and animals, and of course my kids. And people started saying, "Oh, you should take pictures of people," and I was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, please, just do my family," and I'm like, "Okay." So didn't know what I was doing, but I started taking pictures of them, and I found that I really loved capturing the connection between the different members of the family.
Sure.
And so I was like, I think I really like this. So I started taking classes, and so that's how you do it, and that kind of thing. And I got to the point where I was like, I think I'm ready to quit my full-time job. And
Yeah.
By the way, honey, I want to focus on newborns and maternity. And my husband was like, okay.
Right.
And so that's what I did.
That's awesome. That's awesome to have that support at home to build a great business like you've had. And your pictures are just incredible.
Thank you.
From what I've seen. Really love that touch that you have. So as far as the photographs are concerned, is the educational side of things, is that mostly from editing and so forth, or is there actually some things that you need to learn as far as how to take the photograph as well?
So it's all of the above.
Uh-huh.
So there's a science to the whole lighting, how you light somebody up. You have to learn what's the best angles that help to accentuate or take away.
Yeah.
In some cases. But then there's also like the posing. Sometimes people get in front of the camera and they feel awkward. They're like,
Right.
they just really close down.
Yeah.
And so to be able to help them work through that and, okay, I'm okay. She's got me.
Right.
I'm not going to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Or if I do, it's still okay because
Right.
it's going to be amazing on
Yeah.
in the pictures. But then also learning like baby safety.
Uh-huh.
How to pose baby without causing an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And also posing mom.
Yeah.
Because if you pose her a certain way,
Right.
it could be very uncomfortable, or it could even be detrimental to
Yeah,
the
sure.
baby inside.
Yeah.
So things that you wouldn't necessarily think about, and you're like, oh, okay. And that training goes on. I've already completed like 25 hours this
Wow.
year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's constant state of learning and trying new things
Yeah.
and just having fun.
Sure.
So it's a lot.
That creativity is really cool, like how you're able to make that photo just stand out as far as positioning and so forth.
Yes.
And as you can see in the background here, we have a lot of the baby accessories, right, that you use for that.
Yes.
What really got you wanting to do maternity and newborn photos?
So I didn't really realize it at the time, but we never actually had a successful pregnancy.
Okay.
So we ended up adopting.
Mm-hmm.
And so both of our kids, they are biological siblings, but I never got the baby phase, and I never got the pregnant phase.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really feel like that's probably one of the reasons why I'm so I'm just like, oh, can I touch your bump? And oh my gosh,
Sure.
you're just so pretty, because those are things that I didn't get to experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is a big part of what makes it so magical for me.
Right, yeah. And I think that certainly speaks volumes to your customer, right?
Right.
And how much you actually care to get that perfect shot for them and showcase them or their newborn. So that's really awesome. We were talking about earlier that you do most of your stuff here in the studio, but you also do some things outside. You want to speak a little bit to that and the difference and challenges that may arise here or there?
Sure. So most of my maternity and newborn sessions are in the studio. And that's just really because all of my props and all of my dresses are here.
Yeah.
And because I have my own light,
Right.
I don't have to worry about weather or, okay, is it a cloudy day? And I have a area for moms to change into different outfits. And it's just kind of more relaxed.
Yeah.
Whereas if we do it outside, then it's, what's the weather doing? How are you feeling? Do we need bug spray?
Right.
Like all of the things, you know.
Time of day.
Exactly. And so, but all of my family sessions I do outside because the littles are going to get tired of me going, okay, no, but sit, no, but like, no. So, I love to just let them run, let them be them. And they are typically much more receptive because they're not being contained in a small area.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing that you and I talked about before when it comes to newborns, I was very interested in, because you see all the pictures where the newborn is like put in maybe a football helmet or something, you know, creative like that, or in a basket and so forth. And I've always been intrigued, like, how do they do that? Because I remember when our son was born, he was crying all the time and hardly ever slept. So I've always been interested in how you are able to catch them in that perfect moment where they're asleep and just, serene and so forth. So tell us a little bit how you do that.
So a lot of photographers, we call it kind of the sweet spot. We'll typically try to photograph newborns in a specific range, age range. And each photographer is different, but I love age 10 to 14 days because they're still sleepy, and typically they're pretty chill.
Yeah.
But if they're awake, I love awake babies too. That doesn't bother me at all. It's just when they're crying, I'm like, let's make this better,
yeah, sure.
But a lot of times, if you have a fussy baby, the best thing to do is to wrap them, and there's a safe way to do it.
Right.
But typically when you wrap them, you're bringing them back to what they've always known, and so they're like, as soon as you bring those legs in, they're like, oh yes, I remember this.
Yeah, sure.
So comfy.
Yeah.
Whereas if we try to like bring our knees to our chest and do all kinds of weird things, it would be uncomfortable. But they're still used to that, and that's their safe position.
Yeah.
And they'll just conk out.
Yeah.
Once you wrap them.
I remember a picture that you had posted recently on social media that showed you, feeding one of the newborns.
Yes.
And you're excited to do that, and how much you enjoyed doing that. That's part of it too, though, is the feeding aspect to get them in that
sometimes
comatose.
So newborn sessions are typically longer.
Yeah.
Because you do have to let baby kind of control the situation. I mean, have you ever tried to win one over on a baby? They're like, no.
Right,
So you have to be patient.
Sure.
But my newborn sessions are anywhere between 2 and 3 hours long.
Okay.
And so baby's going to wake up at some point and they're going to be hungry.
Yeah.
And it's not unusual for them to feed more because modeling is tough work.
Right.
They're like, I've worked up an appetite, feed me.
Yeah.
And so if they're being bottle fed, I'm more than happy to take the bottle and feed them and let mom and dad. I've had them fall asleep. I've had them just sit and just kind of like social media, because they're taking a break, So
no kidding. It's nonstop when you first have it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Another thing that you and I talked about was a really neat session that you had with one of your male clients. You want to talk about that one? Do you remember this around the lake or the water feature, and he was going to propose to his... Oh
yes. So he reached out through text message, and I had no idea who this guy was, and I was like, is this a scam? Because scams do happen to photographers. And but so I showed up, I had no idea what we were gonna or what's gonna be happening. Is this really gonna happen?
Yeah.
And so they showed up and they were just adorable, and she had no idea.
Right.
So he had scheduled it as just a couple session for Valentine's Day. And so I just went with the flow. We're like, oh, let's go here, let's do this. And when we got there, they both immediately like, oh, we love the dock. And I'm like, that's where it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. So we just kind of moved around and did our thing. And then we got to the dock and they sat down and I got some different angles and back. And I was like, I'm just going to switch my lens. And they're like, okay. And so I switched and I looked up at him and he locked eyes with me and I was like,
yeah, right.
And he went down and she was like, what?
Yeah.
No. And I was like, was this a yes? Because please tell me it was a yes. But it was so sweet. Yeah. She was completely just blown away.
Right.
And it was the perfect setting. It was beautiful. The sun was like just beautiful. And so, yeah, it was awesome.
Kudos to him. That was a great way to do it.
Yeah.
And your creativity and the connection that you make to be able to bring that to life and everything is just really, I mean, I've remembered that story since you and I talked about it, so it's just awesome. So as far as editing is concerned, how long does that typically take from one session to another to get the final product?
So, well, typically if you shoot for an hour, you can pretty much guesstimate that you'll be spending an additional 3 editing. Okay. So it's basically 3 hours to every hour that you shoot.
Gotcha.
I say that I will have your images back to you within 3 weeks. And right now I'm at that 3-week mark.
Yeah.
But I'm like hitting my deadlines, obviously, but it's just, there's just a lot to it.
Right.
And, you know, studio is a little bit more polished, and I've had a lot more studio sessions lately. So,
yeah, sure.
But...
And we've had some experience with some photographers, and, you know, you'll get them back a few days after, and it's almost as if it was just taken by, you know, cell phone or iPhone. I guess cell phone not anymore, but iPhone. So, you know, for you to spend that time and really make it and edit it and make it the perfect shot is awesome. I'm
a little bit OCD,
right?
A little bit, and so
well, that's a good thing. Though,
it is. Right. So some people, and I, you know, the I would say the more beginners are going to be the ones that will slap a preset on there and, you know, kind of tweak things a little bit, but then they're not trained to be looking for the things that, you know, should be altered. Yeah. You know, whereas I'm the one that's like, oh, I see a sign, let me take that out. Oh, well, that shouldn't be like that. Let me adjust that. And so I can get lost in the details sometimes. Yeah, sure.
Now, as far as the pictures themselves, are they fully digital now when you send the product to the customer? Is that just fully digital through what, Google Drive or something like that? How do you
so I have a it's called Shootproof, and so it allows me to have my contracts, my invoices, and my galleries all in. Okay. And so I will send the digital gallery link to my client. Pretty much I only do digital galleries. Now if I do like I just did Mommy and Me minis, and I offered digital only, but then I also offered other products like a brag book and you know, prints, and surprisingly they all went with the brag book and the prints, and I was like, okay, but that's not my typical, because it's just easier to let you
decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah, do you want to print, you know, all 50 images? Cool. Right. You know, or you just want one, that's cool too, and to go with the printer of your choice. You know, so anyway.
Those mini sessions, what's the time frame for those usually?
So for minis, they're 20 minutes long. Okay. And then I try to have the gallery back to you within a week.
Gotcha. And so how many photos comes in a mini session?
So all of my minis this past go round, there were 15 color and 15 black and white. Oh man! So I try to convert them whenever. I have like some people don't necessarily want the black and whites, so it's kind of like a case by case.
Gotcha, sure. And then the full session, you said it was right around 50 photos, or
Yeah.
It varies based
It depends.
Yeah.
Just depending on like, was baby agreeable, or were they all screaming shots?
Yeah.
And just that kind of thing. But yeah, usually anywhere between 30 to 50 images is what you'll end up getting.
Gotcha. What's the most unique place that you've done a photo shoot?
So I actually just came back from a workshop where we went to multiple locations. So
Okay.
we went to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, and we visited waterfalls and like mountaintops, and those were all very unique because they were like places that we don't have here. I mean, we have waterfalls, but these were like, here's your raging waterfall.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And so that was really cool because we also, the person that was hosting the workshop brought a bunch of different dresses.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all dresses that are not currently in my client closet.
Yeah.
Notice I say currently,
Right.
because there's going to be a few additions.
Yeah.
But just being able to be outside and at sunset with the waterfalls and being on the mountaintops, it was really, really cool.
Yeah, nice. So going back to the client closet, are most of your clients coming in and just utilizing what you have, or do they kind of bring their own stuff from time to time?
So my client closet has gowns for the moms,
Okay.
and for women. So it's a mistake to think that the gown will only fit a maternity client, because they can be gathered and made to fit a non-expecting mother.
Right.
But they are typically more like over the top.
Yeah, right.
So I have gotten a couple of like I just did a couple of graduating senior girls.
Okay.
And I'm like, will you wear this dress for me? And they're like, really? I'm like, trust me.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, no, frolic through the field. And they're like, frolic? I was like, absolutely. You're having the time of your life. Gather that dress up and just run and shake it. And they were like, okay. And so best pictures. But I don't have, like for the children and the husbands, I don't have a closet for them yet.
Gotcha. Okay. As far as like colors go, is that particular, that do certain colors look better on certain individuals, dark hair, light hair, so forth, or do they just kind of choose what color they want? Is that something that you decide or something that the customer decides?
So we work together.
Okay.
So as soon as they get here, I talk to the mom and I'm like, okay, first, what is your comfort level?
Yeah.
Like, don't show any skin? Are you, here's a slice of leg, or like, I am good to be free and clear.
Yeah.
So I just need to know your comfort level, because then I can help you pick out dresses accordingly.
Okay, cool.
And then we talk about what their nursery theme and color scheme is. And then we just kind of go through
match. Yeah, so you want, because you want the pictures to match kind of.
Yeah, so if they decide to hang it in the nursery,
that makes sense.
So that when they do their maternity, we can also match up the newborn colors,
right,
so that it can all just flow.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But then we'll go through and I'm like, I've got from very simple dresses to let's see if we can fit this through the door dresses.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are you a diva, or are you kind of laid back? Like, let's just
meet in the middle. Right?
Exactly. So we just have fun with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Cindy, thank you so much for letting me come out and speak with you. I'm always very interested in artists and what goes into the mindset and how you come about, and your pictures are just incredible. So,
thank you.
I
love having fun.
Yeah, that's right. You certainly need to reach out to Cindy. Captured Moments by Cindy. How would they do that if they wanted to schedule a session with you?
So you would go to www.cmoments.me, and there is a contact form on there, just fill that sucker out and I will give you a call.
Awesome. We'll include your contact information in the video as well. But
Awesome.
thank you again for having us, and
You're welcome.
be sure to reach out for some fantastic photos. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.